And we are live. Welcome to Quantum Rebel Visionary Voices Unleashed. I'm your host, Chindia Ilonka, visionary catalyst, #1 bestselling author, and founder of the Quantum Rebel Empire. Here we empower visionaries just like you, not to just build a business, but to activate your empire, and not just any empire, your quantum empire, anchored in soul, designed for legacy impact, where wealth is sacred and scaled through resonance, alignment, and flow, not burnout. Not hustle, not the old scarcity based systems of control and conformity. And in this podcast, we amplify the bold voices of paradigm shifting trailblazers who are re architecting the future. Visionaries who are not only awakening to who they truly are, but leading with it and shaping what's next in the new era of life, leadership, and business. And today's visionary guest is exactly one of those voices. She's an inspirational catalyst for transformation, empowerment, and authentic living. Deborah Liverett is a best-selling author and life coach whose work is as soul-stirring as it is empowering. Drawing from her rich background in corporate management, award-winning executive philanthropy, and an insatiable love of learning, she helps others to lean into their inner genius, design lives that are meaningful and fulfilling, where their brilliance shines. And in her latest book, Hey Me, where have you been? She shares with us an introspective path to self awareness, empowerment, and finding your true self. It became an instant bestseller in 5 Amazon category, and it is sparking a movement of readers who are remembering who they truly are and reclaiming their soul aligned power. And that's where we begin today. Because beneath the powerful themes that we'll explore, such as cultural shame, self expression, radical belonging, below that something deeper lies, a quiet invitation from the soul, a remembering of our inner gifts, and a rising into life, the life that we were meant to live always. But before we step into this extraordinary conversation, let's fine tune to the frequency that we're about to enter. Because you see, Quantum Rebel, Visionary Voices Unleashed, isn't just a podcast. It's a portal, it's a frequency and an activation. It's your invitation into a future that together we're co creating. And this next moment is the gateway. Welcome to Quantum Rebel, Visionary Voices Unleashed, a sacred transmission for a world that's not just remembering, but reimagining and co-creating what's next. This isn't just a podcast. It's a portal, a frequency, a call into the next evolution of leadership. Not the kind that conquers or controls, but the kind that co-creates. We're not here to choose profit or purpose, success or sustainability, achievement or balance. We're here to bridge the false divide and shape the future through frequency, not force. Led by visionaries, quantum rebels to be precise, who lead from essence, transmit from quantum intelligence, and magnetize from their soul-aligned core. This is how we build our quantum empires, not from ego, but from essence, not to dominate, but to co-create. We allow wealth to flow through us as a sacred conduit for expansion, harmony, and elevation for all. I'm your host, Chindia Ilonka, founder and visionary catalyst of Quantum Rebel and the Quantum Empire Mastermind, igniting a new era of embodied soul-led leadership, intuitive mastery, and legacy-level impact. And while once we walked alone, the tides have turned. Like starling birds in synchrony, elephant herds remembering ancient paths, dolphin pods moving through flow, and wolf packs leading through deep intuitive resonance. We rise together. The era of the lone visionary is over. This is the rise of the Quantum Rebel Collective. You're not here by chance. You're here because your voice carries the quantum codes for a newly emerging, sustainable, thriving world. Let's begin. All right, all right. Help me bring onto stage and celebrate Deborah Liverett. Welcome, Deborah.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am so excited that we finally did it.
Yes,
We worked
yes.
the tech monster, and here we are.
We did it together as
We
well.
did it
Thank you.
together. Yes, yes, yes. Why don't you hold up your book up for us so
Happy
everybody can see?
to. There we
That
go.
is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, you say it because you say it in a different tone.
Oh, do I? Okay. It's
Yes,
probably
yes.
from the years of labor. It's, hey, me, where have you been? And it's so
Where have
important
you
for us to
been?
understand
Wow.
that when we lose sight of ourselves. Yes,
Exactly, exactly. And,
yes.
I was going to start this conversation by asking you to read a quote from your book. And
Mhm.
then we got a comment on LinkedIn that I thought really connects to what we're going to talk about. So it's from Damola Oladipupu. I hope I pronounced that well. I don't know him.
I
He's an
don't
e-learning
either.
designer and educator, and he wrote something that is so inspiring. I'm going to read this here. He said, in a world that glorifies hustle, we forget how radical it is to simply pause and ask, where have I been? Deborah's work sounds like the wake up call so many of us need, especially the part about dimming our gifts. How many times have we done that to fit in? Keep reminding us to come home to ourselves. When I read that, Deborah, it just really landed for me. I was like, okay, this is really what it's all about. So I thought that's where we would start, into your big why. What first sparked you, that passion to help others to come home to themselves?
Sure. So it was a long journey, and it started way back when I was a very little girl. If my parents had a disagreement, there was something inside me that said, "You've got to help them feel better." So I would go out and I'd want to hug and kiss. And then as years passed, I'm a teenager, about 14, and I get an ulcer. And in that moment, I started learning more about the inner self and what's important to living your life that way. And that's when I knew I wanted to do something to help other people. My friends and I would walk to the school bus and I would be talking to them about having joy, and they're like, "What?" But that's how innate it was in me. And luckily,
Wow.
nobody could squash it. No one could squash it, even if they looked at me strange. I knew there was a spiritual connection that was important. There was an understanding of yourself. Now, I didn't get it right all the time. I was struggling, I was finding my way, but I never lost that little voice, that soul's goal that tells you this is the path that you're going to be on. So you look at your mistakes, you look at your hurts, and you grow from them rather than marinating in them. That's how it became my why.
That is powerful. That is powerful. And that must have really been a very strong why, because it ended up, or you ended up deciding to put it all in the book, which is not
Yeah,
just, something you just decide one day.
no.
Can you tell us about what happens when, because you said it started when you were a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a time period between then and now.
Mm-hmm.
So as you were more and more really coming home to yourself, what happens to you, when you reclaim those inner gifts of who you are? What kind of
Mm,
shift can somebody, what are we looking at?
yeah. So you have to get tired of pretending, tired of showing up and showing people what they want to see. You have to get very tired of that. And then you stop and you're like, I've got to figure this out. I have to figure it out for me and not for everybody else. I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. I've been reading it since my early 20s. And and probably heard about it for at least 5 years before I actually picked up a copy. So slow learner in that time period, but
Perfect
picking that,
timing.
it's always perfect timing. You remind me of
Always
that
perfect
each
timing.
time we talk. I love that part. And so, in studying, in reading, in journaling, I cannot tell you how impactful that has been in my life. And then being in corporate America and talking to my coworkers, talking to other people's employees, other supervisors' employees, and helping them get back to themselves. Again, it's innate, so I don't even know I'm doing it. I read a Time magazine article about coaching people, and I said, I do this every day and had been since high school. So again, it's innate, but you have to stop at some point and say, okay, I have to figure out who I am. And that's what I try to outline in this book, how to get back there and how to find what is important to you and what have you been putting aside and hiding that needs to come out in service of your soul's goal.
Wow. And there's actually so many themes that we could touch on in the book. But this one, we talked about it before when we did the prelude on the interview. Because it, when you just talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, why don't we all do it? It sounds very natural, very normal, yet still it I always say, it sounds easy, but it does hard. And in
Mm-hmm.
chapter 5, that's called Leave Fear, Embrace Freedom Living, you explore some really profound ideas, freedom through forgiveness. And then you touch upon something that I find really powerful because you call it cultural shame, an old tool to fool. And you are the author and editor of your life. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that for us? Because I think that relates to what you're saying or what we're saying, that it all sounds very natural and innate, and it is. Yet, how
Yeah.
come it's not happening that much yet?
No,
Or
I
not, or
think there'll
maybe
be a
it could be
movement.
happening more.
Yes, I think there's going to be a movement. I really believe that. So I'm going to start with the fear part. Fear is a good way to control people. And if you shame them for who they are, how they are, the fear builds up and they're running around trying to make sure everybody thinks that they're normal. Okay? Normal for me is different from normal for you, right? So that's the first part. The second thing I want to talk about is the freedom that comes from forgiveness. Most people think if I forgive someone for hurting me, then I am letting them off the hook. What I'm advocating is you're letting yourself off the hook. Because as long as you are angry and fearful that it will happen again, all of those words circulate in your mind and hold you back, right? They keep you pressed down. All those, well, he shouldn't have said that way, and he hurt me, and she was mean to me. All of that you cannot forgive holds you back from shining your light brighter. And I'm a big advocate of that. So then the shame part. The shame part typically comes from well-meaning adults in our lives when we're small. It's like in this family, we don't do that. In this family, we don't think that way. That's shaming you for who you are, for the thoughts that you have. And that shuts us down just a little bit more. Then you go out into the world and you meet all of the different structures. I'm going to call them structures for foundations, like our churches, our school systems, right? And teachers tell us, oh, you're not creative or you're not good enough to do math, right? We believe them. They've shamed us and we shut down. And what do we take away from that? I'm not good at math. I'm not creative. The shame is a control tool. And I'm not saying they do it on purpose.
No.
It's just, this is the way they were taught. What I have come to understand is you let the shame go when you accept this is who I am and it's okay. I was created to be here, to show up in this way, and I have gifts to share. Little children who talk too much, and somebody says, you talk too much, stop it. And then they become great hosts on TV, right? Because they didn't give up on themselves. That's
That's
what I'm
right.
advocating. Don't let the shame of how people try to keep you under control. You don't let that. As an adult, you have the ability to let that go and say, that's not right for me.
Wow. That is such a powerful message, Deborah, because especially today, because again, what you say makes total sense. Yet, what we're seeing today is that actually, when you talk about diversity, about what is normal to you is not normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it all depends on where are we brought up, the
That's right.
cultures, the experiences we had.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like what we always have believed or know to be true, it's not a belief system, that diversity is really our strength, because that is when the best comes out. But it
Yes.
seems to be attacked from all sides today.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we deal with that? How do we find the strength within to follow what you're saying, despite what we're seeing happening on,
Yeah.
and it's not small, it's big.
Oh, yes. And it's worldwide. It's happening
Yeah,
everywhere. I totally understand that.
exactly.
But until we find our own voice and feel comfortable with it energetically, we're not going to be able to save ourselves. We're going to follow along because we're afraid. And remember, I said people want you to be afraid so that they can control you. They want you to feel bad about yourself or your neighbor who looks different than you so that they can keep control. Once you are a free thinking human being, you realize no, it's love that brings us all together. It is not fear. That's the key. But a lot of people don't see it yet, but we're going to all talk about it and keep talking about it. You see people in the streets right now, and they have signs saying how they really feel. It's because we have to stand up for who we are and how we want to be in this world.
That's very powerful. We have to stand up for who we are and how we want to be in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear what you say, and that's what this podcast is also about amplifying your voice. Voice is one way, but it does take that inner strength. And in chapter 7, I really loved where you talk about your relationship with the world. You
Mm-hmm.
invite us to a practice, to
Oh, yeah.
really to practice listening and hearing our heart.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be open to, our listeners are live with us? Would you be
Okay.
open to engage us and our listeners in a short exercise so that we can learn to amplify and to stand in who we are?
Okay. Okay. Yes, I can do it because you asked me.
All right. Thank you.
I
Thank
have to
you.
believe I can do it. This is coming from chapter 7, as you said, and it's page
Yeah.
134. So I'm going to change it a little bit because it's written in a way that you would be writing things down. And since
Okay.
we have a short period of time, I'll take 2 or 3 minutes. How about that? Sound good?
Okay. No,
So
that's perfect. I trust you.
thank you. So I want everybody to think about something that brings them joy, something that has made them happy. Put that in your head. Okay. We always
Okay.
start with breath, our breath work. So I'm going to ask everybody to do 3 long breaths. We're going to take it in through our nose and we're going to breathe it out through our mouth. We're taking in the joy and we're letting out anything that is not. And I will talk you through that. So, first breath in, and you're connecting now your core body. So that would be your first chakra, that would be your heart chakra, and that would be your head chakra. Okay? It's in, you've held it, let it out. Anything that does not fit joy for you.
Okay.
Take another breath in. Remember, joy is the secret to a higher vibration. Lift, hold, and let out anything that does not fit that mode for you. Let it out through the mouth, and we'll do one more. Bring in the joy by taking your breath in through the nose. Hold it and let it out through the mouth. Your vibration now should be calmer and a little more joyful because you're reminding yourself that is your human right. We
Yeah.
were born to be joyful. And joy to me is different than happiness.
Yeah.
Happiness tends to come and go. Joy is internal to us. We want to hold on to that. Now, in the book, you would be journaling about why the joy didn't come. What is it that I'm looking for? What does joy look like?
Okay.
But when you're at work or you are in a place where it feels disruptive to your inner core, that's when you can do breathing exercises, and the world doesn't even know that you are bringing yourself back to center. That's why I love
This
the
is
breath.
very powerful, because it's also words can be they can be uplifting, but they can also be like a knife.
Absolutely.
And I love what you say because to our brain, it doesn't know the difference. It's just like you were being attacked by a polar bear
Right.
when somebody says all these nasty things or mean things to you, or
Mhm.
sometimes intentionally and sometimes unintentionally. Your brain receives that as an emotional attack. And then,
Absolutely.
all the wrong chemicals starts going around. We get into stress. So this is very
Exactly
beautiful
right.
for us to come back.
Yeah. And what happens when people are spewing at you, when they're shaming you, when they're trying to control you, is it takes you back to old hurts. And what I have learned is those old hurts will keep coming back until you heal them. And sometimes it can take years to heal something, right? But my first point for everybody is feel the feeling. Don't push it down. Don't drink it away. Don't do anything that distorts it. Feel the feeling because it's just like a little kid. It wants to be seen, it wants to be heard. Depending on how egregious the hurt is in your narrative, in your own head, will depend on how long you hold on to it. I've been hurt and held on to that hurt for a year. That's a long time to run a dialogue of that person is mean, that person is this, and can't stand them. And that just disrupts my body because that person has gone on, right? They're doing
Yeah.
whatever they want to do, but my body is out of sync. So finally, one day, and you can shorten this, it doesn't have to be a year, right? But I learned it. I learned the lesson. One day I woke up and I said, do I still want to feel this way? Do I want to keep carrying this? No. My ego stopped. It stopped that loud voice, like, this is wrong. You shouldn't treat people this way. It stopped it in its tracks because it didn't have any power anymore. It didn't have any weight. That brings back my joy. That brings back the memory that I deserve to be happy. And life is short. I don't care how long
Yeah.
you live, it feels short, right? So, do you want to spend it not forgiving, not moving yourself beyond it, not learning from what happened? Or do you want to live in some joy and happiness? You get to decide because it's your life.
Wow. That's powerful. We get to
Mm,
decide because it is our life.
yes.
And like you say, when we do get to that point, we make the world a richer place because
Yes.
we come, from all these diverse ideas, and the end result becomes bigger than the part.
And it
So
helps more people. That creativity that we bring, that cultural insight that we bring. It's not saying anyone is right or wrong. It's just different, and there's no deficit in different.
there's no deficit in different. It's actually your superpower.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are some other themes that you touch upon in the book that our readers would really, or our listeners would
Yeah.
really
So,
appreciate hearing?
yeah. So I would say understand what is important to you and then understand why it's important to you. Because if let's say you want to make $5 million by the time you are 50, but you don't know how to do that. Okay. That's that's a lofty goal. It's a good goal. No complaints about it. I think money is an exchange of energy and let's all enjoy it. But why do you want it? If it's to feed a hunger that you couldn't feed when you were small, is it to make yourself feel like you're more powerful and more important? If it's anything other than a true love, it is going to not satisfy you once you get there. So that's why I'm saying get to know yourself, get to understand your own why, so that you show up in that, which is typically of service to other people, as opposed to healing a hurt through something external. It doesn't work. It might momentarily make you feel good, but at some point you're like, yeah, no, I still feel bad. This still isn't working. It's because you're not in purpose for why you came here. You've lost sight of your true self, and nothing external can fix that for us. We're searching
Mm.
for love, right? Because we want to feel important. That's not somebody else's job. That's our job, to learn to love ourselves so then we can love others thoughtfully, openly. Does that make
Very
sense?
powerful. Yes, yeah, it definitely
Mm-hmm.
does. And in your
Mm-hmm.
book, you talk about your soul goals.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
maybe you can expand a little bit on that, because
Sure.
that I think is very important and related to what you're saying about those inner gifts that we tend to
Mm-hmm.
dim.
Yeah. So I was a writer in second grade. I was expressing myself on paper. And in college, freshman year English, never forget it. I've forgotten the teacher's name, which is unfortunate. But she wrote on my paper that it was the best metaphor she had ever heard. And brought back my soul's goal. That was like the light she shined on it. Like, I need to be a writer. I want to be a writer. I have something to share. Now, that's freshman English. Then I get married. I have children. I have a job. I'm still writing. I'm still whining to my friends, I want to be a writer. But I couldn't get the time, couldn't find it. My friends were so incredible. They would give me journals, they would give me beautiful pens, just trying to keep me like, all right, keep going. And then one day I woke up and I said, today I start. And it is a journey in starting, and it's a journey I want to help other people who defer their dreams get to. So your soul's goal is in there. You can hear it. It's a whisper, but you can hear it, and you keep putting everything else first. I want to work with people who are saying, it's time. It's time for me to put a little light on that goal, that soul's goal, because that's innate. That's what you came here with. That's the mission you came to do typically. Okay. Then there are some people who have a soul's goal, but because there's the shame, because it's frowned upon in their family, they're like, I got to let it go. And they can't even remember it. They have no memory. That's how you lose sight of yourself. You bury it so deep because you don't think you can do it. I know people who have the most incredible singing voice who want to be a singer. I want to do something in the music industry, but they don't do it day in and day out. That's not listening to your soul's goal. And your soul's goal doesn't yell. It sends you little hints, right? It whispers to you. Wouldn't that feel good? Wouldn't that lift you into joy? And if you don't answer it in the positive, you're back to being tired, hard pressed to get things done, that kind of thing.
Wow. So you said there's some people where it's been so suppressed that they don't even know it anymore. They don't
Right.
miss it. So how would somebody start? Where do we start if you have been conditioned that way, where it's actually something you don't talk about. You don't even know or to have the language to even consider that this is something that you were born with and that is asking, inviting you to step
Mhm.
into that truest vibration of who you are.
Yeah.
Where does a person like that start?
So it depends on the person. I'm all about the individuality, right?
True, true,
So I
true.
can't
Totally agree.
say you start writing and journaling if they don't like writing and journaling, right? So it is figuring out, do I think best when I'm walking in nature?
Mm.
Do I think best when I'm learning how to meditate and calm my mind and then I can hear things? One of the things that I suggest to some people is as you're going to sleep at night, ask the universe, whatever you believe in, whatever energetic power you believe in, whatever that's called, ask it to speak to you when you wake up. And now, this is the trick. You have to then, you invite it in, but then you have to hear it. Most of us wake up and we assess, how do I feel? And when we assess how we feel, we go right into the, ooh, this hurts. And oh God, I have to get up and I have to do this and I have to do that. Can't do that if you're trying to listen for what is it that needs to come up. And I would also, one thing I could say that might fit everybody is figure out what brings you joy. So if you're having a conversation with somebody and you leave that feeling more empowered, more uplifted, there's a nugget in there. What made that happen? Is that something I did or they did? Is that my message? Right? You have to questioning is the key. Digging deep is the key. And I encourage people to find somebody who you can talk to, not somebody who's going to co-sign exactly where you are, but somebody who will ask you another question to help you dig deeper. Sometimes
Very
it's
powerful.
not your best friend, because sometimes best friends just go, yeah, you have a right to feel that way. Your family was horrible or whatever. Doesn't help. Doesn't help move you.
And if the and the book, maybe we can share with them where they could find the book. Is it
Absolutely.
do you have practical things that you share? Would that also be a
Absolutely.
way that somebody could get started at whatever level they are at?
Absolutely. Self-promotion is not my biggest thing, but I
I
will
know, but
say
this is not self promotion. This is sharing your gift. So put it up
thank
there, and
you.
I'll put the
See?
where they can get the book.
Yes, you can get it
But
from Amazon. You can get it from Barnes and Noble. Sneak peek, if you follow me on my website, deborahliverett.com, you will see coming forward a workbook that helps you with the exercises. I have exercises in here. I have affirmations in here. I have mind shifts in here. So those kinds of things will be in a workbook. I've been asked to do a audio reading of the book. So I will be doing that, and that will be on my website as well. So when you
cool.
follow me on deborahliverett.com, what happens is you get sneak peeks, you get better pricing when things first come out. So yeah, that's how
That's
they can
good. I
do it.
think everybody needs to do that because in today's world, the more that we really step out as our true self,
Mm,
that's when together we can really make a difference. You
yes,
know, and
because if
that's what I
you're
love about
emotional,
your message.
thank you. Thank you. I wanted to just say if you're emotionally healthy and I'm emotionally healthy, the world is a better place. When you have
Wow.
people who are not emotionally healthy and they're running things, and that's the majority of leaders, because they're looking for a power that it doesn't help. It doesn't help our mental health. A good manager can make you soar, and then that makes them look good. But there was a paradigm shift at some point where people were like, let's work harder. And it's not necessarily smarter.
But that you bring up a very important point because this is it sounds like oh this is all personal stuff and how we show up better but what's the link to our work our careers whether you're in corporate or
Everything.
you're working with your hands whatever you're doing what is that link Deborah?
It is understanding that community thrives in love, not in fear, not in hate, not in shame. It can't. What it does is it shuts you down, and you don't give your best self, right? If you're a carver, let's say you work with wood, right? But you criticize everything that you do because that's what you learned, you're never going to be proud of that product. And it's the imperfections in us and in our work that make us human and accessible to each other.
Wow. So it's actually, I say also that actually inspiration is a strategic edge. You know,
Yes.
whether it's in your personal life, if you have your own business, or you are part of somebody else's business, and that
That's right.
especially from a leadership perspective, this is a real shift, that investing in our people so that they find, they pause long enough to say, hey, me, where have
Mm-hmm.
you been? So they
And then
can
they
show up
show up.
fully.
That's right.
Exactly. And it has an
You
effect on
got
the
it.
bottom line. Wow.
Every time. Every time. Yes.
Every time.
Yes.
That is
And we've
that
lost sight of
lens.
it. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We think
Okay,
if people
Deborah.
are working day and night, then they're giving it their all. When you're tired, you don't have your best thoughts. You
Yeah.
can't even find it, right? When you
Yeah.
feel shut down, you're just going along. I've done it. I know it for sure. But I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, 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 no. And as we're slowly closing this off, first I want to say I just this has been amazing. It's been amazing to have this conversation with each other.
Yes.
And I know our
Yes.
listeners are, I'm sure that they are going to be left inspired or leaving inspired also. What are some final words of wisdom that you could or that you would want to impart with our listeners?
Okay. So I always interject this somewhere, and I like doing it at the end. I say to people to shine your light and shine it brightly, your inner light. That is your inner genius, whatever that is. Shine it brightly. May people want to wear sunglasses in your presence because it's so bright. And I'm
Oh
not
my
talking,
goodness.
yes, I am so sincere about this. I am not talking about a 100-watt bulb anymore. I'm talking halogen bright. That's how
Wow.
we make this whole world a much better, more cohesive place.
I'm
That's
never
what I
going to
want.
look at sunglasses the same way anymore. Every time I put them on, it's like I am shining my light,
There you
Put on
go.
those sunglasses.
There you go. I
World,
like
here we come.
this. Yes. Shine
All right.
bright,
Can
everybody.
you, if somebody listening is really
Mhm.
inspired about what you say and how you, because how you bring it, how could they get in touch with you or work with you?
Mhm.
Can you share a little
Sure.
bit about that as we
Sure. So
close?
I I do have a website, and as I said, if you sign
We'll
up to
put that
that,
up.
deborahliverett.com, you will sign up. You'll get lots of things that you might not even expect. For example, I lived in Paris for 2 months writing this manuscript, the first one. And so I did a Paris pilgrimage, and I talked about my own growth in that. You can't get that unless you're on the website. And
Okay.
then let's see, I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram as well. Instagram is at Deborah Liverett, and LinkedIn is Deborah Liverett. It's all the same.
Okay.
So you
And
can
you
find
actually,
me.
because I just shared it, but I'll share it
Yes.
again because you said to me you also have like people could, if they are really interested in finding more and
Hmm.
maybe working with you, that they could have a discovery
Yes,
call with you.
that is exactly right. And you have the link. You posted the
I did.
link for them.
Yeah,
Good,
I
good.
just posted it.
It's
I'll put it in the show
yes,
notes
Deborah
also.
Liverett / I think call or something to that effect, and it will take you right to my Google account.
So that discovery call, what is that about?
So if you, again, a person who either you don't know what your desire is or your desire has been deferred, let's talk about it. Let's have an introductory conversation so that I can assess where you are, where you want to go, and can we work together. I don't presume that I can work with everybody or that they can all work with me. So let's figure that out. And if I hear there's somebody else that could help you more, I'm perfectly willing to share it because, again, we're all about creating the love and light for oneself. If I'm not that person, I can link them to somebody else. So that is how you get in touch with me. All those ways.
Very, very powerful. And the
Mhm.
greatest part is that we're not done yet, right?
That's
We are
right.
going backstage now in the Quantum Rebel VIP lounge where we get a chance to really talk to Deborah in person, well, in person virtually. But if you are not registered, please do so next time, because this is where we can get more closer. We can continue the dialogue in a more intimate setting and really get deeper. So those of you that are joining us, we look forward to seeing you. And I would say then, until next time on Friday, Quantum Rebel Visionary Voices Unleashed. And we will end this on this note to, like Deborah says, live your best life now and put on, shine so brightly that
Yeah.
people have to put on their sunglasses. Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to Quantum Rebel Visionary Voices Unleashed. These are the voices re-architecting what's next, not through hustle, but through harmony, not through domination, but through sacred resonance. If your soul whispered yes, you already belong. Subscribe, share, return each week. And if you feel the resonance, come backstage with us in the Quantum Rebel VIP lounge immediately following the show. Because this isn't just a podcast, it's the uprising of a new era, the quantum era of light. And together, we're shaping a luminous, awakened future from the inside out. Let's breathe that in, feel the shift, and remember, you were born for this.